Driving. I'm stationed. I'm sitting. Yay.
All right, Hilo's looking strong.
Present.
I'm here.
All right, thank you. Um, so I think I know what the spiel is supposed to say. Do we all know each other? Hi, Clem.
Hi, Anne.
Hi, Jeanette.
Hello.
All right, so since this is a state sanctioned and governor appointed board, we have some rules to follow. So I know you're all good readers, but I'm going to read it anyway. So for public testimony, anyone who's unable to provide testimony now would be allowed an opportunity when any agenda item is called. However, oh, there's Rose. We're cruising. For internet and phone access when testifying, you have to identify yourself and organization, and if you represent any, and then you have just 5 minutes to testify per agenda item. All written testimony are public documents, so I have to be very careful what special words I use. Therefore, any testimony that's submitted oral or in writing, electronically or in person for use in the public meeting process is public information and will be posted on the board's website. So we're good. We're generally a very polite group. So the call to order and the public comment has been done, so it kicks off to the illustrious Laura Reichter.
Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Okay, our first conversation is related to our strategic planning document. I actually, Bree, if I can share screen, I will just share the strategic planning documents directly, so I can show the document on screen. So as you know, and we discussed, we were able to highlight. If I can share screen, please. So we were able to go through our strategic plans and the process last time. The where we are in our work today is that we've already had our discovery group summary report completed. All of the individual focus groups or discovery groups have been this document here have been reviewed and approved by reviewed by you all. And what we did at that point is we took the information from the discovery groups and then we moved them into our strategic planning session or our strategic plan. So from there, we were able to kind of boil things down and get the highlights. We've had a couple conversations with within the team over the past couple weeks. And some of the things that we will have seen in the discovery group summary didn't make it into the strategic plan. But for instance, and this was an example of a conversation today, there was a lot of focus and a lot of discussion about AI. But when we looked at the strategic priorities, what happened is that it was like, well, what to AI? What with AI? And when we got to that point, it's like, well, really, there's two things. One is the Center for Nursing can use AI and figure out how to use it, or we can engage in professional development. So we can teach people appropriate use of AI. And in that case, we had a bucket that was professional development. So we can use the information from our discovery group summaries, those opportunities to fuel the future action and help us move towards the future of what our goals are. So that's kind of the context and the wealth of knowledge that we learned through those discovery groups isn't just like a great interaction, but if it did not appear in the strategic plan, it doesn't mean that it can't be used as a future resource. So that kind of describes all of these links will be available and we will have this fully formatted. The second thing that happened during this group is that during all of these convenings is that it became clear that we didn't have our mission and vision, even though we updated it last year, it didn't really reflect the work that we're leading towards anymore. So there was a thought, well, maybe we should update our mission and vision. So having some conversations with our subcommittee that was established with for the strategic planning. So our board representatives, Rose and Gloria, as well as and through the work and recommendations of Eric Capono, the consultant, we came up with two proposed versions for the vision as well as the mission. And let me change this view here so you can see it all. Our current vision is to achieve and sustain nursing excellence, leading to the highest quality nursing care for the people of Hawaii. And Eric had recommended a protected and elevated Hawaii nursing workforce. And then going through this conversation and talking about why we are doing this work, there's a thought of that we can maybe even be more succinct. So our vision is that we have a thriving Hawaii nursing workforce. And Eric has described, he's like, the vision is like, what if something were to happen, like then you would be like you could be extinct. You wouldn't be needed because this like utopia has occurred. And so I think that is like, we want a thriving Hawaii nursing workforce, like job done, we've succeeded, right? So that's kind of what the purpose of the vision is, highly aspirational. That is the gold standard that and that star that we're leading towards. The mission is the vehicle. That's like that's the destination, or that's the journey to get to the destination. So we're going to do the thing on the mission in order to achieve the vision. So currently, our mission is very much a reiteration of our mandate. So engage in nursing workforce research, promote best practices and disseminate knowledge, cultivate a well-prepared and well-distributed workforce, support healthy work environments, champion lifelong learning, and strategically plan for a sound nursing workforce policy. And then we came up with two different versions of a mission. The first one is actually one of the aspirations that we ended up not using as our long-term strategies or strategic priorities, because we felt like this really is the underbelly of all the work. And so the one highlighted was we pulled from an aspiration and kind of moved it up. So that's to collaborate on fostering workplace conditions that support and engage nurses to remain in a fulfilling profession. And then the alternate was thinking like the mission, we had a recommendation to include the word thriving as well in the mission. So to collaborate on fostering workplace conditions that support a sense of thriving and engage nurses to remain in the profession. So these are up for vote, and I will, after I review the whole document, I'll turn it back over to Anne to lead a discussion, and then we have time on the agenda for votes. But I'd like to update the mission and vision, and then and I do propose that we engage in formally adopting a mission and a vision that more reflects these goals in the future. Our mandates are the same. We have not changed them. We have not gone back to the legislature, and they've served us well, but it's nice to have it in the document. The strengths are pulled from kind of like the synthesis of all of the focus group, the discovery group's findings. And, you know, we had a lot of other strengths that came out as well. So this is the summary. This is a consolidation of the many strengths listed. And again, we will still need to be going to those individual focus group findings. But these were high-level summaries. And I think that they really speak so well to the team here at the Center for Nursing. I think I definitely see parts of each of the staff and how they do their work in this. And so I really like these because I'm like, oh yeah, that's Bree, that's Carrie, that's Leanne, that's Amy, that's Donnie, that's Catherine. So I really see the team in these strengths, and I just want to call that out. Collaboration and networking, data-driven practices and research, community building and support, and leadership and advocacy. So those are our strengths. And this part these are kind of findings. It's reiteration from those discovery sessions. So this part isn't necessarily, it's more background information, so it doesn't require a vote today. The opportunities, again, it's a summary of the focus group findings. The opportunities, that's kind of like looking to the future, what our partners, many of you who are able to participate in the focus group, and thank you so much for your time. But then also our many partners who engaged. So the findings or their opportunities, again, when we consolidate them, is improve workforce conditions to enhance retention, leverage technology to increase patient care, mentor intergenerational. I'm not going to be able to say that word right now. Mentor intergenerationally to improve skills and retention, outreach to diversify and grow the profession, and resource collaboration to solve shared challenges. And this, I think, is really wonderful because it highlights this appreciation of colleagues and each other. I love that we had recommendations for intergenerational mentorship and support, both from our very young participants and our participants who are closer to retirement and across different settings. So that was kind of a theme. Same thing with resource collaboration to solve shared challenges. That really shows the strong collective mindset that we have across the state. And I think this really talks to not only the opportunities that we can address, but also, of the challenges we can solve, but the opportunities to work with each other and how we work with each other. There's a lot of kindness in this. Our aspirations are these kind of higher reaching goals. They're not just opportunities, but it's like even we're working further. How do we achieve our opportunities? And so our aspirations have turned into what will become our strategic priorities. So these aspirations: enhanced nursing education, nursing professional development, and leadership. So you can look at this and say, well, if we're doing nursing professional development, how can we use any of these nursing professional development to address any of these opportunities? So that becomes the vehicle that we then address these opportunities with. And that will be, so using that, and you can see our aspirations move into these strategic priorities. And let me make this a little bit smaller. I hope you can see that okay. I know sometimes it's the eyeballs feel a little pinched with these Zoom screen sharings. So here you can see the aspirations then repeat. So enhance nursing education to facilitate and contribute innovations that strengthen the educational pipeline for professional nursing. That's going to be the same phrasing that you see up here. And then we have measures that we developed, and I want to thank Carrie, who provided we did a lot of work together with Eric, and then different team members, but particularly Carrie and Leanne. I worked to identify these baselines and milestones, and then Bree contributed as well with her programs. We were able to meet this week. These goals should be the highest. That's what we're trying to achieve. We're going to know if we achieved them by tracking the measures, and then the measures have that baseline and the milestones. So our activities that fall after that or come after that should be uplifting and helping us achieve these, achieve the milestone goals, with the end result is that we have gotten closer to reaching our goals or achieving our goals, which are in the furthest left of this column. And these are we tried to be pretty round about them. So with enhanced nursing education, you can see it's really focusing on nursing faculty. The more supported the nursing faculty, the better able they are going to be in providing nursing education and helping people become nurses and then provide that care. But we really were trying to think about, like, what are the different aspects of that A, we have agency in, and B, would have meaningful impacts. With nursing professional development, we already have a strong nurse residency program in acute care. Our gap is in our non-acute hospital setting. So using our opportunity to leverage an existing program, but riff off of it and expand that effort, kind of move it from pilot into functioning, a strong functioning program that welcomes nurses into those settings. The percentage of nurses employed in hospitals, and then secondarily or subsequently non-hospital settings, who agree that their employer encourages and provides the need to support professional development. So we do a lot of work trying to remove the barriers for our partners to offer resources in their settings and provide their nurse educators opportunities to, to learn best practices, but also have access to tools that they pass on, whether it be simulation or nurse residency or transition to practice. So having that agency to support our hospitals, we want to hear that as a reflection in the voice of nurses who say, yeah, I am receiving that. Yeah, this is the reality I live in. And then increasing the number of offerings that we are providing ourselves. So we do that. We are developing many professional development opportunities. We also partner with others. And so increasing that to improve how we are responding to this priority. And then finally, leadership development. So the percentage of nurses who report being preceptors for nursing students or nurses in the previous 2 years. This is a question that is asked on Carrie's Nursing Workforce Supply Survey, and Bree does a lot of work on this with the nurse residency program and our centralized clinical placement system. We kind of are able to track part of our state, but we're also seeing a decline. And part of that decline is that we see and we hear that nurses are feeling overwhelmed and burdened with their workload. And so they really are not agreeing to take on this extra duty. So this isn't just a measure of preceptors, but it's also, it kind of helps us see, is there capacity to do this, right? So you can kind of get an environmental check, but also we see that there is a decline, and so there's a need to push it up and support that area of nursing. The number of new leadership related professional development opportunities or offerings provided by the Center for Nursing, the number of, and again, this is like hearing from our focus groups, hearing that that leadership and advocacy, one, it's a small group of people, but they have such a critical role in supporting the workplace environment. And also, it's a job that comes with no training. And so people who come into that really learn on the job. I think many of us on this call have experienced that. So assisting people in that transition to practice as well. And then thinking about that environment, we should be seeing it kind of come down. Like if we can support leadership in understanding and knowing more concepts related to leadership, that we hope that it'll also shift that work environment. So the number of or percentage of nurses who agree in general, I feel that my nursing employer is genuinely concerned about my physical, emotional, and psychological well-being. So how can we have agency in supporting that by kind of improving that, the communication and the skills related to leadership, which are very complex and in and of themselves. And then finally, the percentage of nurses who plan to leave their current job due to dissatisfaction with their current employer. So again, how can we address the environment through helping leaders like advocate and support their teams. And then again, the reciprocation is we would hope that we see that as an impact, saying like, yeah, I love my boss, right? And I think Carrie mentioned a few times that kind of like that saying, you don't, what is it, Carrie? You can help me out here, but it's like, you don't leave your workplace, you quit because of your manager.
Yeah, you don't leave a bad job, you leave a bad manager.
You don't leave a bad job, you leave a bad manager. Also, this boss doesn't know any of these sayings. So thank you so much for helping me out with that. I'll fumble through all the sayings. Yeah, so trying to like reflect and respond to that and know that even if you have good intentions, sometimes you're not sticking the landing. How can we help people stick the landing? How can we help people be successful, and how does that have ripple effects? So these are the kind of the meat of the document. And then, yeah, so we have a second document that we pulled out, but it's just kind of like with your approval of this document and also the clarification of the mission and vision, or the the vote on the mission and vision. What we will do as an organization is we have wonderful feedback from our partners about their critical success factors, the barriers, and ideas for strategies that can help start our journey towards achieving these measures and milestones. And from there, we'll start the work. We will put on the conferences. We will develop professional development opportunities. We will work with our partners to expand opportunities within their settings. And so then the work begins. And so that second document that Bree had sent out is kind of the start of that journey. That will be our first step in a journey, in the journey that we will take over the next couple of years. So with that, Anne, if there's any questions, please, I'm of course happy. I'm going to stop sharing unless you want me to keep the screen up so we can move to different areas. But
I have a
am
question.
hoping. Oh yeah, Clem.
How did you come up with these percentages in each of the areas? Is it evidence-based or?
Yeah, so if you
Yeah.
were to click on the measures, it's all based off of the current work. So the baseline is based off, many of them, for instance, are based off the workforce supply survey. So that's where we are today. And then, or like the number of, or our annual report. So where we had reported program outcomes today.
So the milestone, for example, for full-time faculty vacancy rate, how did you come up with the 11%? Is that like a national trend?
Oh gosh, that's a good question that I think, Carrie, do you
That one I
recall
can actually
specifically, 'cause we
answer.
worked really specifically on these?
That one I can answer specifically. So the national full-time faculty vacancy rate, according to AACN, is 7.8. So we figured the sort of midway drop, improving it by 2 percentage points, and then with the overall aspiration of trying to get to the national is what the trajectory of that improvement is.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can see, Clem, in the document that 7.8 does have the link to the AACN vacancy rate from 2023. So that is provided there as a basis.
Okay.
Any other questions?
The same thing for like under item 2, nursing professional development. So again, for B, that's based on your data, 60% would be like a midway between 75 and 56.
Yeah.
For those, the 2029 target, we didn't have a source to draw from. So those are kind of in the universe a little bit arbitrary. So if those seem overly aspirational, they can be adjusted.
And that Carrie brings up a good point, and Clem, to kind of continue on your line of questions. There are some things, and some of them TBD. We were going to add, for instance, 1B, Carrie's adding questions to the workforce supply survey. Yes, the workforce supply survey. And so we won't get those baselines until this year because there was not available data. So Carrie is creating that data set. Essentially, she's going to be able to establish that baseline this year. So we will go back in and define the baseline and the milestones based off what we see in that first year. And also we have new professional development, 2D, we have new professional development offerings. I'm sorry, I'm tripping over my tongue today. New professional development offerings provided by HSCN. So what we see here is like 0, because it's like, if you're starting from 0 and it's cumulative over time, we expect to build on that, right? So that would be what we would do is start tracking it from that point in time. How many new activities have we developed, and how are they, we're not just going to be kind of like random in which offerings, but we're going to be seeking the offerings that really work to achieving these needs that were identified in the opportunities. So still being strategic in that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And again, we do have some information about preceptors for 3A. So Carrie has 2 questions in the previous surveys, but they didn't it was a little bit of a Venn diagram of things. And so instead of trying to make a best guess from the Venn diagram, she revised those questions, tightened it up, aligned it succinctly to the measures. And so that will be reestablished as a new baseline, even though there's existing data. It's like, let's just get it exactly right, that question. So she worked to revise that, make sure it was the right question that was kind of making sure that everybody was having the opportunity. There wasn't misperceptions about what that question was. So we'll be better able. So we're not going to make a guess out of the best number from these 2 different questions, but instead have a new number. Based off our 2025 survey results. Okay, so the big ask and what I ask of you all today is if there could be a discussion and vote on the mission and vision, and then also an approval of the strategic plan. Do you want me to go back up to the mission and vision, or do you want me to, yeah, okay. There we go.
Short-term memory's not strong at 5:58.
Forever.
Okay, grant that.
This is Linda, and I can't see where my hand is on this.
Oh, and I can't see that because
Breeze.
I'm presenting, so.
I'll just put my hand up.
Okay, go.
Okay.
Laura,
I'd like
are
to
you
s-
presenting or am I? Something is wrong with the Zoom today, but it looks like my screen is up, which has the vision and mission statement.
Yeah, I see it.
So so we're starting with the vision. Okay, go ahead, Linda. Tell us what you got.
Okay. I'd just like to say that I feel very strongly about the proposed revised Vision A. And that's the one that I would like to make a motion for us to accept. I think it really says what I think we mean
Great.
as far as our mission is concerned. A protected and elevated Hawaii nursing workforce.
Thank you.
We're looking out for them.
I know the word protected to me actually gives me a small sense of being defensive versus
Yeah,
being very
mm.
proactive.
Hmm.
Rose, what you get?
Hi. So I've been struggling with this whole thing, and I'm wondering, like, why am I struggling with all this? I think I'm really struggling with the word protected, elevated. It could mean so many different things. I don't think our nurses need protection. I think they need to be empowered. So to me, I felt like how could be more aspirational. I guess that's where I kept on getting stuck. Thriving was great, but for some reason I keep on thinking about failure to thrive. So I kind of started to mess up with my head. But
The
yeah,
opposite of failure to thrive.
I think I always hear it in like with failure, right? So I think
Oh.
it just makes my brain go that way, and I'm like, wait, that's not what it means. Yeah.
That didn't register with me, but now that you say it, I hear it.
I think it's an uncommon word, honestly, that maybe the only time we ever do hear it is in it's a formal diagnosis, FTT. So I don't know, if building on your aspirational word, Rose, it's aspirational to be able to thrive.
Yeah, and I had no better recommendation. That's why I was like,
Yeah, I do feel that protected and elevated does not make sense to me.
Hi, this is Arthur. I'm gonna have to agree and disagree with all of you.
Go.
Personally, protected, yes, it sounds very defensive. And thriving, it sounds like you're not there yet and you're working very hard to get there. What I like is what Rose said, empowering. I think that's the strongest word of the day. That's just my opinion.
This is Gloria. For me, I actually like the word thriving, and because it's the action already. The way I see it is that we've all taken responsibility for it, and that we, as the profession, not just our programs, but as the professions, as our program, sorry, the profession and our programs working together, this is the result that we want to get to, is that everybody is already, they're thriving in their jobs. We're not working towards it. We are doing it. So for me, it's more of the action item.
Thank you. This is Linda again. I do see that protected and elevated are more action oriented, and that thriving is more aspirational, and I like the word better now in B as part of the vision. And maybe those other things can move on in the strategic plan.
And I also, I like the brevity to a fault. So I really like that little short phrase, but I am tempted to toy with what Arthur said and state it: an empowered and thriving Hawaii nursing workforce. But I'm putting the and in there, or a comma, so I'm defeating one side of the succinct thing, but I'm just let it roll off your ears.
A Hawaii nursing workforce empowered to thrive.
Then we lose the thriving, like the active tense of it.
Yeah.
Makes it long.
I think the other thing, kind of with Eric's inspiration, Linda, is that still seems like you're on the journey. That's how I hear it, and maybe I heard it wrong, but
Right, empowered is different than thriving. So you're right about that, I think.
Okay. I don't have a problem
with thriving, like it's also successful. I don't know. I think I'm struggling a little bit.
So we got 10 different options here.
oh, you guys are really smart today.
Well, honestly, we've really been given 2
Brainstorming.
options.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay.
Honestly, it's been going round and round and round.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so this is a front facing, public facing statement, and our public really being the nurses. So we're trying to have something that they could really
For them.
look at and would cause a pondering, or cause, would
Yeah.
easy to digest, see, think of, remember.
Then I pick B.
me too.
So let's, do you think we're ready to just take a formal vote?
Well, there was a motion made, right?
Yeah.
Okay, a motion
So
made.
somebody has to second that motion. We already went into discussion actually, right?
So the motion
I-
was to choose A.
I wasn't making a motion.
Oh, you
I
weren't making a
did
motion?
say that I would make a motion because I felt strongly about it, but I didn't make the motion.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Clem.
So I move that we approve the second, or rather the proposed revised vision statement, which states a thriving Hawaii nursing workforce.
Second.
Okay.
And then
Any-
we need a
Any
vote.
other,
Can we have everyone do a yay or nay for all those in attendance?
okay, Arthur,
Yes. Yeah,
Jeanette,
Yes, yay.
Rose,
Yay.
Gloria,
Yay.
Linda,
Yes,
and I say yay. And Clem, you said, Clem?
Yes.
Okay. So it's unanimous yays. Yay.
Okay. Next up is the mission statement. So proposed revision A is to collaborate on fostering workplace conditions that support and engage nurses to remain in a fulfilling profession. And proposed revised mission B is to collaborate on fostering workplace conditions that support a sense of thriving and engage nurses to remain in the profession.
We could really commit to thriving here.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a question if we picked
One or the other.
says thriving, we've already kind of committed that's the vision. So something to think about in terms of how they.
Because otherwise they're almost the same. Collaborate on fostering workplace conditions that support, and then we're gonna say what we really love. Engage nurses to remain in a fulfilling profession, or just remain in the profession. Those are almost, it's almost the same statement. So if we think we're thriving enough, then A is the one.
I like the fulfilling profession.
All right.
yeah.
I'm just gonna
Me
throw
too.
this out here, not that the word engage nurses to remain non-grammatical. I don't feel like just throwing that out there. Encourage would be more grammatical. You can tell me to shut my face hole.
Or
Carrie,
That is an odd turn of phrase.
I agree with you as well. Another,
Another English reader here.
yeah, I get real picky about it too. Carrie and I both get picky and go back and forth on definitions.
we could leave it as support, conditions that support nurses to remain in a fulfilling profession.
Well, I think we're wordsmithing the one that may not be in favor
Gotcha.
in any case. If we are gonna just use that thriving concept to be under the vision, and then the mission is gonna be to foster those workplace conditions. Although there's engage again, that support and engage. Okay, so it's both. So that's a thing, you guys.
I was thinking more along the lines of what Arthur said in the mission to work in empower somewhere in the mission. So that there is that sense again that we're working together.
So
to
can
do this.
empower replace engage? Is that grammatically correct?
Well, it's nothing you would say in real life, right? Like at no point in a conversation would you say, I would empower a nurse to remain in the profession. I mean, you could, right? I mean, I don't think you would say that. You would empower them to make choices. but
Mhm.
Yeah,
you would empower them to stay,
yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm. Because empower is to enable, right?
Right. So, I mean, if just to recap the conversation as an observer, you guys really like that concept of empowerment. It appears nowhere. You could just potentially, and I get I think the intention here was to talk about nurses remaining in the
Mhm.
profession. Obviously, there was a sentiment about enjoying the phrase to remain in a fulfilling profession.
Mhm.
But I don't know.
Support is good. Conditions that support or conditions
Yes.
that empower nurses. Support in some ways puts the onus of seeing this mission accomplished solely on
One
like
level.
organizations. And empower seems that it's more
Everybody.
on both levels.
Yeah.
But you have to have the conditions so that the nurses feel empowered. I don't know, what does someone else think? If it just said that support nurses to remain, I mean, empower nurses. to-
Rose's hand is up.
So I'm gonna throw a wrench in here, but I don't know what's right because maybe it is what it is. But like to me, I don't want nurses to be in this profession if they're not contributing to optimal patient outcome. Like I feel like it's half-baked. I feel like I don't want just numbers of nurses. No, that we change it our model to take care of our patients because what is our ultimate goal? So I feel like yes, I understand this is like workforce related, but it feels so numbery about number of nurses versus what's our true professional goal. So that's where I'm kind of struggling with, but maybe as a workforce center, right? Then this makes sense. So that's where I've been kind of struggling, like what is our ultimate goal? Is it just the nurses or is it assumed?
I think Rose, to that effect, I think in my mind when I read it, was that a fulfilling profession is one where you can contribute to practice change innovation, where you can support patient outcomes, where you can work to the top of your license, where you can develop your expertise. So that kind of fulfilling profession part. So there's like the workplace conditions, it's like the willingness to stay, the environment that you're working in, and the fulfilling profession is that like working to the top of your scope, working with a high sense of values and integrity. That's how I read it. So I see what you're saying though when you described it from your, how you were reading it. I understand how that is not entirely clear.
But yet I'm okay with fulfilling profession. Again, I don't have a better recommendation.
You know, Rose, I can see where Rose coming from, because I mean, I think we're patient focused, and this is written more in the nursing focus races versus patient focus. So yeah, there's got to be a separation when you when you try to figure this out and pick the right number.
Thank you. Thank you for helping me.
Yeah.
And I think also though that the center's mission is predicated on one assumption that nurses are professional and vital to see any success in patient care, one by one or in organization. So I think there's an implicit nod to that level of professionalism that's required. And the mission for the Hawaii State Center for Nursing is to support those professionals so that they came to nursing. Why? Because they had that heart and they want to impact their community, starting one person at a time. So it's not articulated, but I feel like the discussion when you're talking about nurses as a body, they care so much about their patients.
That makes sense. And I think that word fulfilling is very important because the mission B, it feels like, okay, I just don't want any nurse in the profession. Yeah.
So do you feel ready to make a choice here?
Yep.
We still haven't addressed the English teacher's critique of it.
Tell her to shut up then. That would be the easiest choice.
Well, no, there's an easier choice than that. We stay polite and we just make a motion to vote on these two.
You can make a motion to vote with modifications. So if you find a grammatical error, we can make the adjustment and everyone can agree to version C, if that's what you choose to do.
You can suggest the edit in the motion.
So can we try once more? Because in either one we fit, although I engages in both of them. So what would be the replacement? That would be grammatically correct. That support and encourage. Can we go back to empower, even though you're never going to say that in a conversation the rest of your life?
Power, encourage, any of those would be more grammatical.
This is Catherine. I would just make sure that they have distinct meanings. So support and engage kind of cross. So whatever other word you pick, just make sure that the meanings are different.
So you think support and empower are the same?
They're similar. To me, again, I'm a non-voting member of this group.
How about if we go to the streamlined version and just say that support nurses to remain in a fulfilling profession?
Grammatically, that is very correct.
I wonder if there's wordsmithing, if there's a need to put in remain in. So if it's, oh wait. To collaborate. Just responding to Rose's, like, is it a numbers game? So that support nurses or empower nurses.
Contribute.
Or,
Oh, contribute's nice.
And support nurses to contribute? No.
That support nurses to contribute and to contribute to the profession.
Collaborate and foster workplace conditions that support nurses.
Yes, the suggestion you would have to wordsmith a little bit more.
If anyone would like me to put these on another screen and type them out, just let me know.
I have it up, Bree. If I can share my screen again, and then you can.
Okay. You want to share?
We're so close. I wish we could come to the end of it and really have it. Oh, it's so tiny. Oh yeah, girl.
I don't believe in making eyes hurt. We only did when to stop.
That's great. My eyes don't hurt, they just don't work that good.
So if I can, I
Alright.
feel like when we removed like a well-being emphasis, we lost that was part of the goal. And it might be that now that we have thriving, it's there, but But I think part of, and I just want to explain this maybe a little bit. I feel like there's this like, we want the nursing profession to be a good profession, right? We want it to be a good place. We want the workplaces to be good places to work, even though it's very hard. Nursing is hard, but we want people to be supported, and we want them to be empowered and able to provide really high quality care, not just because, they've got a good workload, but they also have the knowledge and skills. They have had great nursing education, and then they have this learning environment that fosters just
Strong
the
ethics.
nursing care. And I didn't, when without changing the mission and the vision, I didn't think the strategic plan really clarified that there is really this intent to support that journey. But I'm hearing everybody, and I see how it's still like, you take the cake out of the oven and it's still a little gooey inside.
It's kind of with what Rose said earlier. I'm in my warped mind sometimes, but I'm actually, the way I translated that to kind of understand and put it into context to me is more of, when we're looking at that contribution, that it's looking at maybe increasing the value of nursing. And so I'm like, okay, if we contribute to it, but how do we increase that value of nursing? I don't know, might be a tangent.
And if we're not able to find a consensus, we don't have to vote today. We can vote on the 16th and work on it, continue to work on it if there's not the ability to find the perfect phrasing. I don't want to rush it and get the wrong thing.
I would be happy if it said to collaborate on fostering workplace conditions that support nurses to remain in a fulfilling profession. And all that comes out is and engage. It's A
Yeah.
minus and engage.
I agree.
It's very straightforward. And workplace conditions start to describe the strategic plan. Good leadership, great professional development, strong preparation to start. Those conditions are what the strategic plan is aiming at.
I can agree to that.
Yeah, and I like the simplicity versus just getting to the point. I like that.
And in my mind, the collaboration part of this statement encompasses empowering, I think. We're collaborating, we're not doing it to them.
Madam Chair, you can call for a motion.
All right, does anyone want to make a motion to vote?
Plan so move.
Second?
Linda?
Oh, are we making the motion to so that the statement reads to collaborate on fostering workplace conditions that support nurses remaining in
To
a
remain.
fulfilling
To
position,
remain.
to remain in a fulfilling profession?
Correct.
Okay. I second.
I think Linda's seconded first.
Oh, okay. Good vote. Yes,
voted.
Gloria, yes.
So now are we allowed to vote? All you
You call for the
parliamentarians?
question. You call for the question, right? So we can vote.
Can we vote on proposed wait, now it left. Revised mission A2.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go around again and take the ayes and the noes, okay? And I'm just going according to my screen, so.
Mhm.
Art, what do you think?
Aye.
Jeanette,
I
Dr. Clem,
I,
Rose,
I,
Gloria,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes,
and I too. So the ayes have it.
Yay.
Carrie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for that. Thank you for the discussion as well. And then the last piece of this is then the measures, which if you'd like me to pull up, or the aspirations, we will develop the specific baselines because some of them we don't have the data yet, but so the aspirations, and I can share my screen. Do you have them on this? Here, I can share it again. So enhanced nursing education, nursing professional development, and leadership development.
I think the whole process and the outcomes were just spectacular. Art, how does it look to a hospital guy? Thank them.
I like it.
Catherine's hand.
Yeah, so I was wondering why the first one says enhanced, but the second two don't, when they would also be, we would also be enhancing nursing professional development, enhancing leadership development.
You know, it never registered.
That's why I'm here.
Why is there not a, well, I think development is the kind of like, it's the professional development. So it's nursing education enhancement, I guess, if you were to change it, to kind of match the,
Oh, to get mint.
oh, I'm not great at grammar. I'm left-handed. Like I have an improv dance background. So the strengths of you all are encouraged in this. Carrie, Bree, Catherine. But yeah, if you wanted to match the match it exactly
Structure.
the structure,
structure.
then you would.
It seems like the enhanced nursing education is, where it says to facilitate and contribute to innovations that strengthen the educational pipeline. This is something that we already have. So we're enhancing nursing education, whereas nursing professional development, we're explaining that we're establishing programs. You know what I mean? So we're not really enhancing something that's being established.
That's what I was thinking, because not everybody's a leader right out of school, so you're developing a leader later on in their career. And that's what a separation of the enhance and the development is. That's how I look at it, and I'm left-handed like Laura.
Do you dance?
Hell no. Maybe after a few.
We gotta try that once more.
Okay.
Rose, what do you think?
English is my second language. I'm okay with what.
Mine too.
In spirit though,
No, I think I could understand both sides because at first it looks like, oh, I think it's fine as it is. I'm not sure.
super equivocal.
I look at it as like a career progression from an NRP to a CNO. I mean, that's kind of like how I read this, you know.
Yeah, that's a cool way to see it. I just saw it when you said that.
It's like our logo with the people.
Going up, up, up.
Us as well.
Pushing them up, yeah.
Clem, looks good to you?
It's good to me. I think these aspirations contribute to developing a thriving workforce, really, if you look at it, right? And then education providing the necessary further skills and knowledge, and then also working on their leadership formation.
Great point. Okay, does someone want to move to approve these aspirations?
Okay, so move, Clem.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. So I'll do the same roll call one more time, right? Oh, and you know the order now because you're on the same order in my screen.
I
Thank you.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Rose.
Is it bad to provide a different recommendation now? Sorry.
Sure.
Um,
We're doing it all night.
I think
Okay, nay.
okay, good, because I think we
It's
can
okay
still
to
have,
vote as a nay, and that's recorded,
yeah.
right?
Okay, thank you, Linda,
Yes.
Gloria,
Yes.
and okay, thank you for that. This measure passes, but Rose, could you go ahead and give your thought?
I'm wondering if the first one should be nursing education enhancement,
Oh,
because then it kind of all matches.
Yeah. Some switcheroos, yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
A friendly amendment.
well, that's
I'm
the
okay
second
with
time.
I'm okay with the friendly amendment.
I
Okay,
Is that how we do it? Can we say okay with a friendly amendment?
yeah, whoever made the motion, right? So
Oh, you.
the friendly
Okay.
amendment was made by Rose. And I agreed, who made the initial motion, and then now we can take a vote again.
Nursing education enhancement.
Okay.
All right. Art,
I
Jeanette,
Aye.
Clem already said aye, right? Rose,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Gloria,
Yes.
and yes, the friendly amendment passes.
We got a strategic plan.
Yay.
Woo!
Yay.
Yay.
Move that up. Thank you guys for your insights and contributions to that.
We just channeled you there for a second, Catherine. Just happened.
It was awesome to watch.
All right. Well, I think we made it through that part of the agenda. So the next part of the agenda is, wait, let me save that as
We're
a,
gonna do improv dance.
we are going to do improv dance yet. I'm going to lead you in an exercise.
Who gets to pick the music? The leader,
Oh,
I
no.
suppose.
You do improv dance with silence
What?
or children's toys. Sometimes it's wild. All right. I'll stop talking so Carrie can.
So this is just an update to the last time I was here. We talked about some of the preliminary findings from the workforce projections. We did our launch event on the 4th of this month. So thank you to everybody who was able to attend that one. I appreciated really the engaged discussion. I think people were surprised at the optimism in the RN findings in particular. And that sparked a lot of conversation. And we really kind of delved deeply into that conversation about like, okay, so the supply seems fine relative to demand. And also there are still things that need worked on. So I think that conversation was really helpful to us at the Center for Nursing to figure out where we can continue to direct our energies. And so I think that was ultimately a really great, worthwhile activity. Our report we got our cover art today. We're going to post that report to the website tomorrow. So anybody who attended the launch event received the slide deck. So I forgot to send Leanne the slide deck. So we're going to post the report and the slide deck to our website. So it'll be available to everybody. I'm also working on a press release that my intention is to release during Nurses Week with a headline of optimism about the workforce based on the content of the projection. So I think that my intention seriously is to counteract what I also expect to be the Wallet Hub study that comes out that says Hawaii is a terrible place to be a nurse. So that is not unstrategic on my part. I'm planning on working on a CNE activity so that people who were not at the launch event have the opportunity to engage in a conversation and ask questions about what the implications and interpretation of the projections are. So that's pretty much where we're at. Any questions I can answer for you guys? Right on, go team. As a
Great
side
meeting.
note, unrelated to the workforce projection, but definitely related to the workforce projection, as Laura alluded to, our nursing workforce supply survey for 2025 is getting ready to go into the field. We've been doing final testing and small edits yesterday and today. Nurse license renewals are set to begin on the 21st, so that's next week, Monday, and that's the same day that the survey will launch. The data from those surveys were what fed into the supply side of projection. So crucially important for we continue that effort. So we're going to ask you guys to let your nurses know that the supply survey is in the field, to encourage them to take it so that we get good data and can continue doing this work going forward. And so we have metrics for some of our outcomes in our strategic plan.
And if I can add, Carrie's, so nationally, I don't have it behind my desk, but nationally, Carrie works on a working group that is a partnership between NCSBN, National Council of State Boards of Nursing, and the National Forum of State Nursing Workforce Centers, which is like our national entity, to do a nursing workforce supply survey or a sample survey. And Hawaii doesn't send out the Board of Nursing data. So this year she was like, can you just use my data? And there's been like many reports back from different channels that the data is super extra beautiful and very easy to work with and very complete. So makes other folks really happy. But that word got sent back down through the Board of Nursing from another member. And so people are really appreciating that. So the work of the workforce supply data doesn't just inform our work here that the Center for Nursing uses. She shares it a lot with people, like when they're writing grants, or accreditation, she'll send out data tables, but then also increasingly nationally, or with these big projects like the projections, it's being a really useful tool. So I just want to commend you on that work. And let you all know that she's getting a lot of attention nationally.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think our next section is me again. I'm so sorry. You got to hear from me so many times today. You find you. I will share my slides. Oh yes, this is the right one. Okay. It's very scary sharing things on Zoom these days. So, what just happened? It's just jumped so many places. Okay, so quick update on nursing legislation. We are in conference. Conference is the last part of our legislative session. It is a fast and furious wild ride. Gloria's nodding because she knows. Clem is too. This is like, it used to be the most, had the least amount of transparency. That's kind of how it's described, but it's improved since COVID because at least we have like the conference committees posted and we have YouTube, which is great. So all of these meetings are really available. Right now, at the beginning of the legislative session, 3,000 bills get introduced. At this point in time, about 50 have already been passed on to the governor, and there are 450 bills that are subject or available for a conference. And there is only ever around 300 bills, so 10% of the total that were introduced that get sent to the governor. So we're going to expect to see, 300, 250 bills move forward and another 200 bills die in this session. So it's a pretty tumultuous time because you've made it this far and then you don't know, you got a 50-50 shot. In terms of, it's happening now, April 14th to April 24th, any bill that has any kind of amendment from the second chamber, any bill that has needed work, any bill that has appropriations goes to conference. So it's a lot of bills that have made it this far that really need that kind of extra zhuzhing. Public Access Room has really great resources, including this memo that they sent out in their newsletter this past week. And they also have a lot of information about what it means. I presented a little bit about this today at the webinar, so sorry if you attended it, you've already seen it. But nationally, we saw a lot of big topics: nursing workforce, nursing work environment, nurse staffing, nurse well-being, APRN, scope of practice, community paramedics, models of care, artificial intelligence. Locally, the topics that we saw come into through the legislative session through bills was nurse staffing, recertification, education, entry to practice, APRN, workforce development, scholarships, loan repayments, reimbursements, and GE tax. Looking like real large, looking like as zooming out as far as you can go. We started with ratios, BSN expansion, LPN education expansion, NCLEX access on neighbor islands, prior auth, loan repayment, preceptor tax credits, and nursing in school settings. So those are kind of the topics that we looked at, or that our legislature started looking at rather. At this point in time, when I did the analysis of all the bills that are still alive, we still have bills that are relating to BSN education, LPN education, loan repayment, preceptor tax credit, nursing in school settings, and prior auth. But then we also saw some initiatives die. So all of the ratio bills died. Some of the BSN education expansion efforts just never caught wind. The NCLEX access, it died, and really that one's okay because NCSBN has, they're working on getting an online proctored, and the state has kind of addressed internet access. And so those two coming together will actually improve access moving forward. And then nursing in school settings, some of the bills died, and also some funding to expand Hawaii Keiki and charter schools died. So this is the down and dirty of what's still alive. With BSN education, the bills that are still alive is the HB 300. And yesterday's conference committee hearing, they said that anything that had agree was going to, they were just going to mark it as it'll pass through. And that includes the Manoa, West Oahu, and Hawaii Island funding. So congrats to two of our deans here. The Maui one is, so that makes HB 442 not necessarily needed. The only item on that that's not going to be funded through HB 300 is the online RN to BSN. And then Maui had a separate bill to move from an ADN program to a BSN program, and that bill is subject to conference. So it still has some legs, but I'm not quite sure. I haven't had discussions, so I don't know how it's going. And you may. The ratio bills, sorry, they all died. So that one did die. I don't know why it says living and it's dead, but I have all of the big ones that I wanted to talk about. Sorry for the typo on top. NCLEX is, that one died. What is going on here? That should not say NCLEX. That should say loan repayment. I'm so sorry that this version, when you down things off of Canva and then you don't know what happens, it must have, there, I will send this out again. NCLEX died. Loan, the HELP program is alive, and that will that will, I think that actually should get passed through HB 300, and that would give 15 million additional dollars for health professional loan repayment. The preceptor tax credit program is alive, and that will expand to remove the primary care designation, add employer residencies, so like Wyanite Comps residency, the VA's APRN residency, as well as adding PAs, social work, and registered dietitians. Nursing in school settings. The only bill that's alive is going to allow healthcare professionals to teach people like principals and coaches to pass meds, because right now there is a work shortage in certain school roles, particularly the school health assistants. And so when they're out and like a Hawaii keiki or an FQHC nurse or a public health nurse isn't there, that school isn't able to pass meds right now, which is a problem for those students. And then prior auth, that bill is still alive. It did change to a committee, a task force review. And so I'm not quite sure if it's going to be changing prior auth as it started to, or if it's just going to kind of get the ball rolling and hopefully make some changes in the future. And then these ones are dead. So the RN education expansion, just the online to BSN, to be very clear about that. The ratios died. Nursing in school settings, the ones to expand charter schools, and the ones to allow schools to get basically a few meds into their first aid kit that are otherwise prescribed, so like a bronchodilator. And then that NCLEX access is dead. Again, that one has a kind of private industry work in progress that will be supplemented by the state's initiative to improve internet access, and coupled together, that should be a pretty magical new environment starting in 2026. So big picture, I just want to talk about this. The big picture legislature trend is that they seem to be taking pretty careful action during uncertainty. So they're not being really wild with their spending. It's not a robust money year. We're still feeling the effects of Lahaina. We're still feeling the effects of the COVID monies going away. They're still kind of sussing out the impacts of the big state income tax change that they made last year, as well as removing the taxing, the GE tax on medical services. And so that's all a lot to deal with. And so they're being really careful with their spending, and you can see it. However, I really felt that when I looked at the individual initiatives, they are making people-centered workforce development choices in this space. So they're the loan repayment, education expansion, preceptor support, and even prior auth, which makes you need a lot more staff in order to help your patients instead of just moving things along and helping your patients directly. So kind of being more timely in healthcare. And also reducing costs. People are, having more staff in order to do a job is expensive. So that really looked to me like they weren't changing industry standards, but they're trying to make people's lives better. And those workforce development strategies, that's how I'm seeing them come into play. Also, like the verdict's out with national stuff impacting local stuff. We know, I mean, we're hearing story after story after story from local impacts as well as national impacts. We see so many federal budget cuts. We're seeing impacts to state workers and grant recipients, 501c3s that are federally funded, as well as state employees who are federally funded, their salary lines. And so I see the state supporting established programs. They're like, if you have demonstrated progress, you've demonstrated accomplishments, we will continue you, but we're not going to do new things. And so that's where I see that careful action. So they're like, yeah, like the HELP program, that's expensive, $15 million, but they saw that it was efficacious and they see that it helps local people stay in Hawaii. Whereas if there is a brand new initiative, I don't know if, I really haven't seen those ones kind of pick up steam. And then in terms of the federal changes, and I just want to talk about this, locally, we're starting to have conversations with our partners. So we're going to create that nexus, that network. We're going to ask people what's your gut feeling? Where do you feel like services may be lost? In that anticipatory dialogue, even though there may not be any data, that visceral sense is really now, because what happens if we lose a certain service that is is provided at the Department of Health, which is heavily funded by the feds? We want to be able to be checking in early and saying, okay, well, who's going to do that work so we can maintain the safety of the public while these big shifts are happening? So it's all very kind of sensory based. But having those checks, knowing who your resources are, knowing who your network is, and then having that strategy. So we're starting some of those conversations. We're going to talk next week to our CNO collective about this. And then I've also talked to folks at the Department of Health, including Gloria, the DHS, Department of Education. Dialogue and exchange and anticipatory planning. And then where to watch, I think it's important to think, we talk a lot, I mean, the EOs have, particularly at the executive or at the UH level, a lot of the presidential executive orders have impacted work. But that's not the only place where impacts are happening. So we are seeing things with executive executive orders, but DOGE and the immediate funding cuts and funding stoppages, that's impacting work. We are anticipating the federal budget to, as the legislature passes, the president gives, similar to the state, the president gives the legislature a budget to consider, the legislature will make a decision, and then as they pass that through, that will have impacts, that will have change, and not just the budget, but also kind of like regulatory laws. And then the Supreme Court, a lot of those decisions have pushed the responsibility to states. And so it's kind of defederalizing in some ways these resources and regulatory structures, funding, responsibility, oversight. So it's removing that federal structure that puts the larger responsibility on the state. Both the administrative responsibility, so who's overseeing it, the fiscal responsibility, who's funding it, and then what standard are we upholding? So all three of those kind of areas are impacting us. That puts a lot of responsibility on Hawaii, but I think also we tend to talk so much about, you go to school here and then, oh, you got to go to the mainland for your education. And then you get your nursing education. Oh, you got to, we've had these narratives over time. Oh, you go to the mainland and get some experience. And we send people away. But this is really an opportunity to, one, stop those narratives and carry, with the new grad report, she's helped change that narrative. With the specialty training that we have, we've created those that Bree has been working on. We've created those opportunities to start and develop your nursing career, strengthen those resources within industries. The EBP and the faculty support work, that really also deepens and enriches the resources locally. And that's really going to be, I think, the message and the pathway that we need to take. So we're really strong. And that will help us help nurses be really wonderful nurses who feel strong and confident and like they are experts, or they have a pathway to become an expert and provide strong and life-changing care to people in Hawaii. And so that's kind of this, this opportunity. There's a lot of change, but leaning into ourselves, I think, is the opportunity that will make us really thrive throughout this whole changing environment. So that was kind of my take. I wanted to talk about not just the state, but the federal, because in some ways it hasn't hit nursing yet, but it doesn't mean that it won't. And having a concept that we want to work within, it will help us as those changes move through. All right. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. I'll just move into the next session because we are like at the top of the hour. Our board terms, we have 3 really wonderful members who are going to graduate from us on June 30th. That's Rose, Arthur, and Anne, believe it or not, sad face. Major sad face. And we have 2 current vacancies right now. So this is going to be a really big shift in our community. I just want to say to Anne, Arthur and Rose, that you all are really, really wonderful board members, and we're so fortunate to have you. So we are working on getting new members. They will all be processed through as interim appointments during the legislative session. And then, so we are looking for that. The applications, if they haven't processed, if you know someone who's interested and they haven't processed through an application, there is still time because I'll be processing that after sign die, which is May 4th, May 2nd.
Laura, I thought the deadline passed.
But because because they're processing interim, they're still accepting applications.
Okay.
Yeah, the deadline, they didn't process us through during the normal process.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's newer information than when we talked, because normally the deadline happens much earlier. Yeah. Yeah, and thank you, because many of the people who you have recommended have gone through. So we have 3 appointments in group 1. You have to be a nurse executive, an APRN, an RN affiliated with a collective bargaining unit, or a doctorally prepared nurse educator or researcher. So any of that, kind of like junk and po, anything goes. And then for group 2, we will have 2 vacancies. And really, this is like anyone who can do a good job in helping us be more informed about the community needs. So you don't have to be a nurse for this one. And you can kind of work in any setting. You can work in any specialty. You can kind of be anything as long as you have interest in supporting the advisory board. All righty. So that's that. We will also need, because Anne is our chair, we will need to run elections. So we will be running those elections with that full composition of our new board that will be with the interim appointments in August. And that will be a big change for us, but we so much appreciate every one of you and the contributions you provide us.
Really,
Next
it's an
week-
honor.
Yeah, you guys are so wonderful. Next week, we have a major big deal conference. I mean, every conference is a major big deal, but this one has been a goal of our nurse residency program that grew into our Hawaii Transition to Practice program. And they asked us if they could have a conference many, like 2015. And it's been a labor of love to get us there. But we've using the grant funding we've had, and Bree's been working really hard with many of our other team members and many of you all. We will have this conference next week. I know some of you are going to attend, so we'll give in-person hugs and fist bumps. And also there will be awards for this for the first time. So we hope to see you there. There's a couple more registration spots if you have not registered. And then the next event is our National Forum of State Nursing Workforce Centers Conference. Carrie is going to be going and presenting on several items. Catherine will be also attending. She is presenting a project that she's accomplished on behalf of the School of Nursing. And Gloria will be going. She'll be representing the board, and then I will be going as well. It'll be a fun time. I hear they have good ice cream. That's what Catherine, tell me if that's true.
And cheesesteak.
And cheesesteak. Oh yes, that's I'm more of an ice cream person though, so that's what I registered. Not Philly cheesecake, which is so
Cheesesteak.
cheesesteak, yes, not cheesecake. Maybe both? I don't know.
No, not both.
Okay, and last but not least, we used to have field trips, and we often and still have had speakers, but it hasn't been a while. Were you able to confirm with Connie Mitchell? Did you reach out to her, Bree?
I haven't heard back.
Okay, so we asked Connie Mitchell if perhaps she would be interested in speaking to us But if you have any recommendations on either a offsite location where we can all meet, for Neighbor Island participants, we can either make sure to coordinate Zoom and or support your travel to come out. Or if you have recommendations for a guest speaker, and people that we've had in the past are travel organizations, executives, deans, union representatives. So we try to run the gamut, long-term care facilities, to help us hear what's going on in the community.
Our last field trip was to Queen's Step Down Unit at Kulikini. It's been a long time.
That was a long time ago.
It was, and then COVID happened, and then we had no field trips. So
Yeah, so we've just been inviting people to sit in their offices or living rooms and talk to us
yes.
on their space.
If you do think of anyone, just send us an email and we can put them into the communications to see if we can secure something. It is right around the corner. May is coming pretty quickly.
Yeah, May 21st.
When's the date for that? May 21st. Okay.
May 21st.
It's not the 28th.
Oh, I think that there's an error on this. I think that this was the one that we changed since the first time, Laura, because of your conflict. And I totally didn't think to update it here. It is the 28th. Because Laura's otherwise
Oh yeah,
occupied on the 21st.
I was like, what am I doing? I'm graduating from the Amidia program.
Yes, it's a big occupation. So,
Thank you for catching that date.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
All right, well, yeah, I just want to give my generous mahalo to you all for that very, very meaningful dialogue that helped us get to a new mission and vision, which I think will make everyone happy. And I think hopefully will also help people understand what we're trying to do here at the Center for Nursing a little bit better, as well as all the work that you contribute to through participating with our programs and activities and helping us get insight so we can do our jobs better. So thank you guys.
Thank you. I enjoy it. I love this group and this meetings and this productive. It's so productive. I enjoy it. Thank you.
We're really going to miss you, Arthur, but at least you're still actively engaged, and I'm sure you will continue to be engaged in a lot of our programs. So I'll still get to see you, I hope.
I hope. What I want to do it on my free time.
Volunteer with us. Thank you so
Oh.
much. We look forward to you. Oh, you're muted, Ann.
I bet you got lots of free time, Arthur.
Yeah, between
Just drive your hot rod all around town.
Well, if you want to adjourn the meeting, and we're at that time.
All right. Well, God bless y'all. That's the end of the meeting. You're free to have dinner. Aloha.
Aloha, happy Easter.
Bye, everyone.
Aloha, happy Easter.
Guys.
Bye.
Next time.
Bye, you the best.